I'm very pleased to be interviewing Roy Sekoff of Huffington Post Live. Roy, can you tell us about your job and how you got to where you are today, a bit of your career background?
Yes, so in fact, I'm the founding editor of the Huffington Post, and I'm the president and co-creator of HuffPost Live, which launched in August of 2012, just 4.5 weeks ago. So how did I get here? My path, career path has been a very circuitous one, very zigzaggy, a case of doors opening and closing and trying to figure out which is the right one to get into. I originally moved out to California to go to graduate film school with the goal of being a director and a writer. And I ended up working as a screenwriter for 7 years. Worked for a wide variety of studios and production companies, writing originals and some rewrites. But over those 7 years, nothing got produced. So it was very frustrating. I felt like I wanted to build buildings, but I was just an architect writing blueprints. So I got tired of that. In between there, I had a little brief period where I worked with Michael Moore, and I was a writer, a producer, and an on-air correspondent on his TV show, TV Nation, which we did for NBC. It ended up being on many other places, Fox and Bravo, but I worked on the NBC season. And eventually, through a very circuitous route, I came to meet Arianna Huffington, and I began working with her on a wide variety of projects. Everything from the Shadow Conventions, which is when I first started working with her in 2000, to when she ran for governor, and a million things in between. And in 2004, the end of 2004, we started talking about doing an online news site that would aggregate news and feature a group blog. And so she asked me to come aboard on that as the editor. And so that was 2005 when we launched the Huffington Post. And that was what I did every day for the last 7.5 years. But about a year ago, we came up with the idea for HuffPost Live, and that's what I've been working on for the last year or so.
So tell us a little bit about HuffPost Live. What was the intent, and where do you see it in the space right now, in the media space now?
So the whole idea behind HuffPost Live is that we weren't creating a new brand. We weren't starting from scratch. So I'm the founding editor of Huffington Post, and what I wanted to try to figure out how to do is how to bring everything that I thought was special about the Huffington Post, the writers and the reporters and the bloggers and all the stories that we do, and bring that to this other medium, video. And so that was the inciting idea behind it. And, it's worked out wonderfully. Because this is really, in many ways, our video strategy. We create a tremendous amount of video content every day. We do 12 hours of live programming every day, and then we cut that up into pieces and take those clips and we put them all over the verticals, the many verticals that the Huffington Post has, and also the AOL brands. Where I think that we fit into the media firmament is that I think there's a moment now. And there's this, it's been a change. It didn't happen just at this moment, but I think it's really gaining momentum where people no longer want to be talked at. They want to be talked with. So it's sort of a shift from the presentational to the participational, if I can coin a word there, a little neologism. And so that's really what we're really all about. We're about participation. We're about engagement. And the whole idea was to take the fact that the Huffington Post has this incredibly vibrant community. I think we've just passed 180 million comments that have been left since the launch of the Huffington Post. It's a remarkable number. 54 million last year, we just passed that already. It's only September, we've already passed 54 million for this year. So there's this, growth of engagement and people wanting to comment and people wanting to talk. And what we found as we delved into those numbers was that people are not just leaving comments on the Huffington Post, but 70% of the comments are in fact a response to another comment. So they're not just commenting, but they're actually having conversations. So we thought, what if we took those conversations and made them the heart and soul of what we're doing here on our live streaming network, HuffPost Live? And so that became sort of our North Star. We decided to double down on engagement, and every decision that we made following that was inspired and informed by that we wanted to put our community right in the middle of what we were doing. And so that affected our design, it affected the kind of people that we hired in front of and behind the cameras. It inspired the technology. So it affected everything that we did.
Can you describe your community to me? Using a research term, if your community could be profiled, how would it be?
Well, in general, the Huffington Post has a very literate audience. They over-index, as they say in the marketing world, over-index on education, over-index on income, over-index on social sharing, over-index on being seen as influencers among their circle of friends. So those are the kind of people, and that's really been, the great revelation in the these many 4 weeks that we've been doing this so far, is that really a very well-informed, a very articulate community. So I've been very pleased by the level of discourse. So these are not people just kind of weighing in, I think community members in general online have gotten a bad rap, that they're just sort of flamethrowers or trolls or, just leaving snarky little comments. That's not what we're finding at all. We're finding people who actually have, really thought about the issues that they're talking about. They're passionate about them, and they express that passion very articulately. So very early on, and I think it was the first or second week after we launched, we really sensed that this was something special. That the community that we had hoped would show up was in fact showing up, and was really bringing their A game, if you will. So we decided to even increase the amount of community sound-offs that we have, where we let them talk about the things that they're passionate about, the things that they're sharing, the things that they're talking about around the digital water cooler, if you will. And so, so that's been the great thing about our community.
Do you get a sense of their overall attitudes and political inclinations, that kind of thing?
We've really made an effort to not have a situation where we're just preaching to the choir and that our community members are all just agreeing with each other. A, it doesn't make for very interesting broadcasts, and B, that's not the kind of conversation we want to have. The Huffington Post has always been dedicated to having a non-toxic atmosphere where people can express themselves and disagree, but disagree in a way that kind of advances the conversation and not just puts it to an end with, well, you're wrong, and then where do you go from there? So we've actually, made it a real effort to have a cross-section of people, and I've been very happy so far that we've actually, had that. It hasn't been, one side or the other. We've had, people from all over the political, philosophical, and ideological spectrum.